Hey guys, what's up? How y'all doing? Alright, so if you were watching last time, you would have known that we were having issues with one of our components, and I wasn't able to figure out what was wrong with it. I was using steady state and something was getting messed up. So I actually, what I did after I finished the stream and after I came back from work, I looked up for a solution on Stack Overflow, and the only response that I got, I left it overnight. I came back in the morning to see, whether anyone has replied. But the only answer that I got was something that left me with a lot of room for thought. And the guy said that I need to do something that had to do with lifting the state up, right? And having a single source of truth, as he says. But I have no idea what that means, so I, checked the documentation over here and, what's going on over here? Right, so I'm checking the documentation to see what it is and what it's about. What is going on here? Okay. All right, so let's open it up again. All right, here we go. All right, so lifting a state up, right? Just FYI, I didn't sleep very well last night, so it's gonna be a quiet stream, right? I'm gonna have to use 100% of my computational, my brain processing power to understand what lifting a state up means, especially since they are using a class constructor or constructor class to do the explanation. While these guys are doing, or actually they're presenting the solution with a constructor class, I have constructed mine both in a function and in TypeScript. So this is going to be a little bit challenging, to be honest. I hope not, but we'll see. So right. The guy said something about passing a prop to terrain square stat, which is the component that we were having issues with yesterday. And something about a single source of truth. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of reading. If you guys would like to chill out while I do that, yeah, that'll be cool. Alright, I'm gonna try to do a little bit of testing, see if I understood what's going on. Ecor, thank you so much for the follow, man. Hey, how you doing? Well, what I'm trying to do... Actually, let me start up the server to show you. Alright, so I have this map, right? Proverbial map. And what you're supposed to be able to do is to click on a square. You'll see it'll highlight with a black outline. Then when you click on the second one, or when you click on another square, the first square's outline is supposed to disappear, and the new one is supposed to have an outline of its own. But that's not happening. What's happening instead is getting a lot of black outlines. Erix, thank you for the follow, man. Appreciate it. So here's my code, and it's a mess because I'm not proficient with TypeScript, and I've decided that I wanted to write it with TypeScript because I was doing I was following a tutorial at the time. Now that's not the big issue, I think, because what I think is the issue is more so the logic that's happening here that I'm not quite understanding. And I definitely know that it has something to do with the set states. So I asked the guy on Stack Overflow, or actually I asked on Stack Overflow, and I got one answer that said something about needing to lift the state up and having a single source of truth and maybe pass him some is active, but that's like, I mean, all of this stuff that he's saying is way above my pay grade, which is why I'm reading up on the documentation or whatever article I'm able to find to try to understand what's going on. So, yeah. I mean, I had it working before by having active square, which is actually the variable in which I'm storing what HTML element I'm clicking on, right? So I'm setting that to be equal to which HTML element I'm clicking on. That made sense. The problem is that if I do it active square equal element, i.e. variable equal whatever HTML element I clicked on, I don't know if it's because of the logic, but it requires me to press twice on a square before it's highlighted. And I was trying to figure out why that was a problem, and I looked up a video, and the guy that had a similar problem, or something close to that problem, fixed it by making active square, or making that variable that stores the element on which I clicked, or you clicked, or we clicked, making it a use state instead, or declaring a use state in which he stored that variable, or that HTML element. Alright, I hope I didn't confuse you too much, but that's essentially what's going on right now. And I went through the documentation of React. I've always found it really confusing. Like, the documentation, I don't know, man. Sometimes it's helpful, other times it's just throwing you all over the place and you're trying to figure out, you know, what's going on. So after having I kind of read through the entire thing, I still feel like I don't really have a grip on what the problem is. So I found this other article over here, and they're explaining it in a better way, or at least I like the approach, but it doesn't seem very elaborate. So let me read through this, see if I can figure it out. I didn't sleep much last night, so my brain processing power is just like 50%. So that's why I'm being a little quiet, trying to understand what's going on in the article. Let me pass you the Java, sorry, let me send you the Stack Overflow. Have it here. All right, I'm gonna have to. I'm on a different account on this computer, and so I'm gonna have to find myself over here. All right. There you go. So this is the Stack Overflow post that I made. You can get familiar with the code, and it is exactly what you said. You know, I need to be handling the state properly, which is not what I'm doing right now, and mainly because I'm a novice and I'm not sure how to do that. I'm probably gonna have to well, at least the way I think is a correct way to solve it is to do is to declare two deconstructors, two use-state deconstructors, one having the new state and another one having the old state. But if we are having, or if we're implementing a single source of truth, then I would have to change more things around, and I'm trying to figure out how you would approach that technique. Do I have to define a new component and make that handle all the changes and stuff like that? Because if that's the case, I'm gonna need to figure out how to do that as well. Okay. Oh. That's pretty cool. All right, so I mean, what I understand from this article is that they have just one single component where they I want to say make all the changes, but at the same time it doesn't sound very efficient. At least not to me, you know. I mean, I would think that they would have them separated so that they can have them readable. Well, yeah, readable essentially. But then again, I think here in the article they say something about that. It's like, oh, you know, you like to... Yeah, there we go. When you're starting out, probably think the idea of having state inside components is... After all, it keeps functionality and relevant data together in one object, right? Yeah, but then you would risk having everything separated. So much so that you have a hard time tracking where the changes are happening. So instead, you would want to have everything happen, or all the changes happen, one single place, so you can kind of control the changes. Very interesting. Really interesting. All right, I'd like to test this out to see, you know, how it works. I'm gonna actually try to do the same exact thing, but instead of a return, I'm gonna try to console log it. All right, do I put it outside? Can I put it outside? No, I can't put it Add the function. I'm gonna try to declare a new, or actually create a new component called message. Just to test this functionality out, see if it works. All right, so I defined a new component and I imported it into map, which is essentially where the change is supposed to be happening. Then we're gonna add message component that we just created as a prop. Problem is, all right, let me see if it's a problem actually before I say anything. Okay. All right, so I was gonna say that over here, what we're doing is we're actually generating an entire map using a for loop and then storing these values using the push function into the variable map, which made me doubt whether or not I can actually create a prop on it that held a message. I don't see why not, but for some reason or other, it's saying that so it's throwing an error and telling me that it's declared, but the value was never read, which is kind of true. But then again, if I'm pushing it here and I'm reading it over here, then it is red. Oh, hold on. I didn't import it correctly. Oh. Yeah, okay. Hold on. I think we didn't have to create a new component. What we instead had to do or just define it here, I mean. Add it to Yeah, no, I don't think it has to be. Oh, it has to be called here, but okay. I'm actually gonna look up this error. See whether or not that gives us an answer. All right, let's see if we can find something about lifting up the state using hooks. All right, let's follow this tutorial for a
There are
second.
several components that need to reflect the same changing data. One way to do this effectively is by lifting the shared state up to the closest common ancestor. Let's see how this works in action. In this video, we'll create a temperature calculator that calculates whether water would boil at a given temperature. We'll start with a component called boiling verdict. It accepts the Celsius temperature as a prop and prints whether it's enough to boil the water. Next, we'll create a component called calculator. It renders an input that lets you enter the temperature
That's exactly the documentation of React.
and keeps its value in a
React's
temperature
documentation.
state and updates that state on change by using set temperature in the useState hook. Additionally, it renders the boiling verdict for the current input value. Now, our new requirement is that in addition to a Celsius input, we provide a Fahrenheit input and they are kept in sync. We can start by extracting a temperature input component from the calculator. And we'll add a new scale prop to it that can either be C or F. And we can now change the calculator to it.
Okay. Okay. So now this kind of makes sense. But I think my problem here is that I'm defining all the props using TypeScript, and I'm not sure whether or not... Can I add more? Like... something like current. And maybe define it here, say on... Okay. Alright, but we're still having an error here. I mean, I was able to define it in the... I want to say element attributes. But over here in the declaration, I'm still getting an error thrown. Props.
That can either be C or F. And we can now change the calculator to render two separate temperature inputs. So we have two inputs now, but when you enter the temperature in one of them, the other doesn't update. This contradicts the requirement that we need to keep these in sync. We also can't display the boiling verdict from calculator. The calculator doesn't know the current temperature because it's hidden inside the temperature input component. So first we'll write two functions to convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit and back. These two functions convert numbers. So we'll write another function that takes a string, temperature, and a convert function as arguments and returns a string. We'll use it to calculate the value of one input based on the other input. It returns an empty string on an invalid temperature, and it keeps the output rounded to the third decimal place. So for example, try convert ABC to Celsius returns an empty string, and try convert 10.22 to Fahrenheit returns 50.396. So currently both temperature input components independently keep their values in the local state. But we want these two inputs to be in sync with each other. So when we update Celsius input, the Fahrenheit input should also reflect the converted temperature and vice versa. In React, sharing state is accomplished by moving it up to the closest common ancestor of the components that need it. This is called lifting state up. So we'll remove the local state from the temperature input and move it into the calculator instead. If the calculator owns the shared state, it becomes the source of truth for the current temperature of the component
What?
puts to be in sync with each other. So when we update Celsius input, the Fahrenheit input should also reflect the converted temperature and vice versa. In React, sharing state is accomplished with each other.
Yeah, I mean, I that's what's going on right now. It's exactly, if I'm not mistaken, right? It's exactly the same as the React documentation, only they're using hooks instead of classes.
Both temperature input components independently keep their values in the local state. But we want these two inputs to be in sync with each other. So when we update Celsius input, the Fahrenheit input should also reflect the converted temperature and vice versa. In React, sharing state is accomplished by moving it up to the closest common ancestor of the components that need it. This is called lifting state up. So we'll remove the local state from the temperature input and move it into the calculator instead.
Okay.
If the calculator owns the shared state, it becomes the source of truth for the current temperature of both inputs. It can then instruct them to both have values that are consistent with each other. Since the props of both temperature input components are coming from the same parent calculator component, the two inputs will always be in sync. So let's see how this works step by step. First, we'll remove the state from the temperature component, and we'll pull the scale, temperature, and on temperature change from the props using destructuring. Now in our handle change function, we'll update that from set temperature to on temperature change. On temperature change will be passed from the calculator. Now everything is being passed to the parent component to handle. Next, let's look at the calculator component. We'll store the current input's temperature and scale in this local state. This is the state we lifted up from the inputs, and it will serve as the source of truth for both of them. It's the minimal representation of all the data that we need in order to render both inputs. And we could have stored the value of both inputs independently, but that's not necessary. It's enough to store the value of the most recently changed input and the scale that it represents. We can then infer the value of the other input based on the current temperature and scale alone. The inputs stay in sync because their values are computed from the same state. Now, no matter which input you edit, temperature and scale in the calculator get updated. One of the inputs gets the value as is, so any user input is preserved, and the other input value is always recalculated based on it. So what did we learn here? There should always be a single source of truth for any data that changes in a React application. Usually, the state is first added to the component that needs it for rendering. Then, if other components also need it, you can lift it up to their closest common ancestor. Instead of trying to sync the state between different components, you should rely on the top-down data flow. Lifting state involves writing more boilerplate code than two-way binding approaches, but as a benefit, it takes less work to find and isolate bugs. Since any state lives in some component and that component alone can change it, the surface area for bugs is greatly reduced. Additionally, you can implement any custom logic to reject or transform user input. If something can be derived from either the props or state, it probably shouldn't be in the state. For example, instead of storing both Celsius value and Fahrenheit value, we store just the last edited temperature and its scale. The value of the other input can always be calculated from these. This lets us clear or apply rounding to the other field without losing any precision in the user input. If you want to check out the entire code,
Okay, I think I understand what's going on here. We are trying to handle the change and display the change, or render the change, in the same component. Right, so over here, what we're trying to do is we record which HTML element is being clicked on using this mouse down, and that initiates or calls that function, right, which is this one over here. It passes the variable of, you know, the mouse event, and it stores the target of that mouse event into element, and then we're setting state of the active square as the element. So essentially, it's the div that we clicked on, right? But then the second time we click on it, or where was I? Yeah, so the second time we click on it, it's immediately changing to the new element, right? Because we do not have another state that's handling the change, and essentially what we need to do, we need to have a different, need to have two different states, one that is the current element that we clicked on, and then another state which is the old element that we've clicked on, right? So it's like the old and the new, essentially. And how to do that? How do you do that? I have absolutely no idea. I mean, for example, this map generation over here. No, I think this one's correct. I think this is correct. Although, yeah, I can't help but feeling like, thinking as though the problem that they are presenting here in the video is a little bit different from what I'm facing right now, because over here they're actually passing information, whereas I am actually, well, I'm passing information too. Here's the difference. The difference is that they have two different inputs. That's what it is. They have them separated with their own props and everything. In my case, I don't have the props separated. They're all the same for all of them. What I'm thinking is, it has to be this. It has to be the on-change attribute. And then what we pass into it would be something like a function that handles the change, right? So on change old square, let's say, something like that. Then let's take it out from here, prop, and actually pass it in here as a function, like old square. Okay, that worked. Now this doesn't have a return value, cannot find name. Oh. Okay, maybe it has to be select square. Square dot old. Okay, terrain square stat. Sorry. Now, hold on. How is this calling select square? Select square React mouse event, right? So if we take it outside the function instead of inside of it, should work. Okay. All right, progress. Um, okay, now old square. The problem with old square is that it's not within the select square is which is where we're setting states. So maybe what old square does is it calls select square and does something with it. It could be that select square would be just the function that handles the variable that's getting passed through from our mouse click, and then stores it, you know, and stores that value within one of the variables inside of it, right? And then so we would have all these conditionals inside old square instead of the mouse event function. Let me see if that works. Or to call a define a deconstructor right over here called const, maybe old square that just try it out, see what happens. Then use state as an HTML element. All starts off as. All right. We can define one, so that's good. Now, can we set old square be equal? Oh, sorry. Set. Can we set new square? Okay, no, actually, it has to be set old square. That way, it's less confusing. Set old square as hold on, select square dot element dot or e no dot property element. Oh, yeah, but it's outside of its scope. Hold on, can it even call select square from inside here? Select. It can. Well, I can make a reference, at least. All right, but what's the value of this? Let's check out what the value of this. Log. I'm gonna have to find out a way to output it. Right, it should output by itself since it's on change function, right? Either a React function, React hook. Oh. All right, this works. No. I just need to make sure that I understand what or how unchanged works exactly. Handle change. Isn't it not a mouse event? Event? What exists? Last name. Fine. Last name is fine. Bill's class. See if that works. Form event handler. Form event handler. Hold on, did I get it right? Did I get it right? Types of property target are incompatible. Type event target is not assignable to type event target in L. Okay, go. I'm just testing things out. See, you know, if I can understand what the hell's going on. There we go. Current target. Okay, we got it. We got it. Value E. Current target dot value. Current target dot value. Oh my god. Thank God it worked. Jeez. Okay, we're still not getting the console log though, so we're not getting an on change event. Maybe we can get something else. We can get something. On mouse down, we're getting that. Can we have mouse down called 2 different functions? Hold on, maybe actually we can call the second function from inside the first function. So we would have set active, or sorry, select square, call old square function. So just a reference. It can only reference it. But does that mean that it outputs the... Okay, so okay, now I understand. The on change is actually an on change for a form event. I don't know why I did not catch that earlier, but essentially it doesn't handle the... Okay. What we need to know is to figure out like how we can handle a change that happens on a div instead of a form. On CSS change like that. Style change event. There we go. No. All right, I feel like we're diving way too deep into this, and there might be a different way to solve it. Something like, if the class name is different, right? Okay, so we store like the class name of the first target, and then when the target changes, we change the style of the first div whose class name we've stored. Something like that. Could be. The way I'm trying to do it right now is a little bit above my pay grade, but I guess I need to dabble a little bit to figure things out. You know what? I'm just gonna comment this out. That way, if I want to revert back to trying this method out or this technique out, I can still do that. Alright, I'm gonna try something. All right, let's see how this works. Can that even work? Okay, let me see how I can try to make this work using second U-stick hook. I don't know if I'm gonna have to draw it to kind of understand or better visualize what I'm gonna be doing. But we have 30 minutes left. Let's give it a shot, shall we? we have a state. On mouse click, we're setting the state. Right? Now what we want to do is have the state being set with the mouse click, but then have that state being stored somewhere else parallel. But this has to happen only when some condition has been met. What condition is that? I think it is. When the state equal to the element being clicked. When the state is equal to the element being clicked, we store it into this thing, right? No. Or is it going to be when the state is not equal to the old state? If the state is not equal to the old state, right? If the state not equal to active square. I'm trying to figure out where I have to place that variable. Okay, hold on. Let's go through it, by order. If the active square is equal to null, all right, we're setting the active square to be equal the element. Okay, and then we're also setting it to be the old state, right? Which is equal to active square. Now we've stored old state. And so we have to pass it through here and say, and active square is equal to old square. Oh, or active square equal to the old square. No, or active square is not equal to. Hope you're following. So if the old state is not equal to the new state, then we want the new element to be given a outline, black outline. But then, before we move on, we want to say, want to tell the element, hey, change this. No. Okay, I got it. Take the old state and change its outline. Actually, remove its outline. Okay, and here we'll say if active square not equal to null, or right. Okay, so we remove it from here. Say not equal to the old square, and it's not equal to null, and square not equal to. Run this. You know, sometimes you get hit with errors. It's like, how does such an error even exist? What the hell is a type never? Sometimes, man. Am I assigning it? I don't think I'm assigning it to null. It said not equal. Oh, so if it's equal to null, then not equal to null. Okay, I take this out and I put it in here. Then we say oh, sorry. There we go. Woo! Okay. So if active square, if the new state is not equal to null, and the new state is not equal to the old state, then, you know, proceed. But then if the active square is not equal to null, and the active square not equal to the old square, just, you know, making sure, right, that it doesn't go in there unless it's definitely equal to the old state. So yeah, if the new state is not equal to the old state, then we want to take the old state and change the outline to null or to nothing, right? And then we want to set sorry. We want to set the old square inside here to the new square. Oh man, this is like it's literally making my mind go into a braid, you know? But that's good, that's good. That's good for the brain elasticity. Oh, wow. Okay, hold on. The active square is equal to null, and active square is not equal to the old square. Then if the active square is not equal to null, I'm sure there's a much easier way to do this. And if anyone has any suggestions, please be my guest. I'm trying to solve this in the best way I can. And granted, it might not be the best way to do that. Or to solve that. So yeah, that's just a disclaimer, putting it out there. Or I kind of lost my train of thoughts. I kind of lost my train of thoughts exactly when I got to the old square state. All right, let's get back to the drawing board, right? When do we want to reset the state again? We want to do it so that on mouse click, I mean, essentially the way it's going to be, let me see if you guys can see. Yeah. All right. So what we want to make it do, that on mouse click, we want to have the outline change. Right. But to do that, okay, so we have to add outline, and we have to remove outline from the old one. So to do that, what we need to do is with the on mouse click, we set state. Let's just call it main and secondary or something like that, right? So we set state of the main state, change the main state. Then when we change the main state, add the outline. And right, but then when we changed main state, we have to compare it, and we say is equal to old state, right? This is where we compare it. And if not, so if it's not equal to the old state, we remove the outline of the old state. That's essentially how it has to work, right? Okay, but if it is okay, no, actually we don't need to define that. It's not necessary. All right, so essentially that's that, and that's that. But then again, we have to have one more, right? Before you add here, we want to check Is it equal to a new state? Oh, right. That's where the confusion's going on. Because it actually has to be. Okay. All right. I see what's going on. Hold on. My brain is still computing. Okay. Here we're setting the main state. We're asking, is... Okay, so is it new element or old element? If it's a new element, then add an outline. If it's an old element, then remove the outline. Right, but then... Okay, now I see what's... All right, here there's two different new ones. No, actually, hold on. Where's the eraser? Get me the eraser. Try this again. On mouse, click. Set state equal to element. Okay. On mouse click, we set the state equal to the element. And then we say, is the element equal to the old element? If it is, do something, and if it's not, do something else. Is element... All right, we're getting there, guys. We're getting there. Is element equal to the old element? So in most cases, it's going to be... Hold on. If it is, right? If the new element equal to the old element, remove the outline. If the new element not equal to the old element, then add outline. It can't be that simple. Let me go through this again just to make sure. On mouse click, we store the state and we say that it's equal to the current element that we clicked on. And then after we do that, oh, right. We say that is the element equal to the old element? If it is equal to the old element, then we remove the outline. Not equal to the old element, then we add outline, and then we save it. Over here, we save it. Say the main state, the main set state equal to the old element. And that should fix it. Right. Gonna try it out, see if that works. Yeah, the problem is that the first value that we pass is null because we defined the active square as null here at the beginning, right over here, and that's because we have to, right? We have to give it a value, and when nothing is clicked, it doesn't have one. So over here, grab all this, comment it out like that, right? Start fresh, okay? I will say if square equal to null. Right, we'll do this. I'm gonna keep it like super simple. Okay, so the first one, we're gonna have it do this. So when the active square is equal to null, it's gonna grab the element that we just pressed and then add a black border to it. And then we're gonna set active square equal to the element. And also, we're gonna set old square equal to the active square. All right, so this runs the first time we click on a square, and then that's it. It won't run again because it will not be null. Actually, it will be null. It has to be null once we deselect it. So that's another thing that we have to factor in. Right, but we'll do the null thing in a different one, so we're good, we're good. Then we'll say, actually, let's keep it in the same. Say else if active square, what was it? What did we say? If active square is equal old square, active square is equal to old square. I'm kind of worried that it would run this and then it would run this immediately afterwards because it meets the condition. All right, so what if we actually grab this, instead of putting it underneath, put it on top of it? That way it will check whether or not active square is equal to the old square first, and then moves on whether or not it's null. So if it's null, good, it'll pass right over it and it will not run it. But if we put it underneath it, then it stands the chance of getting run, even though we didn't want it to run. So if active square is equal to the old square, we remove the outline, which is this. The outline. Oh, okay, so here we have to say like and not null. Okay. So if active square is equal to the old square, okay, and it's not null, then we take the active square, We remove the outline, and we say a set active square, set it equal to null, right? Because now we deselected it. But here we won't change the old element, right? Hold on, let me see if I got it right. Okay, hold on, I'll think about it in a second. Here we're gonna have an else statement, which is essentially if active square is not equal to the old square. Okay, so let me write it explicitly. That way we make sure that that's if active square is not equal to the old square and active square not equal. Right, so if it's not equal to the old square, we say add an outline, right? And once it's added an outline, we set the active square to the element. Then set the old square active. Right, but over here all right, that should work. Gotta be good getting off soon. But I think I understand what the problem is. We're not factoring in element. So one of them has to be I think this one. This is equal to element. And and it's also not equal. Hold square and not null. Then do this. All right. I'm gonna try to find a solution for this on Stack Overflow. Try to see if I can get some more information out of Drew Reese. I'd like to ask him, you know, whether or not he can divulge a little bit more information about how he thinks I should solve the issue or solve the problem. If I'm able to solve it, then we'll go through it next time. If not, we'll just go through a different problem that, or actually a different challenge that I would like to solve, and that's grabbing a JSON file, parsing it, and generating a map from it. Right? So essentially, if you guys haven't been here last time, I created a little program on processing that generates a map for me. I had the software generate a JSON file that sort of saves the coordinates of each and every one of the squares of the map. Okay, hold on. Let me show you. Maybe we'll get a better idea, right? So here, I run the program and it generates this map, right? And each one of these squares has a coordinate, and I made the program save these coordinates into a JSON file, which you can see here. And so what I'd like to do is to generate this, or something similar to this map, on the browser instead. So using divs. Over here, it's just like visual, or not sure how processing works exactly, but it can do that without having, you know, like it's not interactable, it's not divs or anything like that. It's just like built into the program itself. So what I'd like to do is just grab that, create divs out of them, you know, maybe using something like, you know, what I've created already, and hopefully I would have already fixed all the problems that I've had. And if we bring it all together, you're gonna see, you know, it would be really nice, because then I would be able to have this entire map over here clickable, and it would be all divs and all, you know, you can interact with everything. So yeah, I feel like it would be very, very nice. I'm gonna try my best to try to solve the problem that I was facing today, which is like something that I would really like to figure out. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. I'll be back on tomorrow around the same time, so 2 hours earlier tomorrow, 9 a.m. UTC. Would love it if you guys joined. Yeah, I guess until then, I'll see you guys. Have a good one. Peace.